laptop. Ashio, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. So we're going to start once it's 5:05. Just
Hi, everyone. Can
one
you
more
hear me
minute.
clearly?
Can you hear me?
Seem not to be getting any feedback. Okay, I see what's going on. Okay, I think it's better now.
Okay. So we're going to start once it's 5:05.
Okay.
It's already 5:05 anyways. I was going to say we're going to give we're going to give one more minute for others who are trying to join. But I guess because we don't want to take too much of our time, we'll just start right away. Just want to say, first of all, welcome to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to yet another session. It's a session with the Nigerian residents in British Columbia in collaboration with the HR Leaders in Canada group. And yet again, as promised, we will be organizing career sessions from time to time, and we'll be talking about things that you all want to know. So thank you again for joining us. Today, we will be dissecting a very, very unique topic. And we're going to be talking about exploring opportunities of skilled trade in the Canadian job market. And to do that today, we have some very experienced speakers here with us. I can tell you guys for certain that you really don't want to miss this, because they're going to really break it down and dissect this topic for us. So our first speaker for today is Leke Adesui. He's my uncle. He's a big brother, but definitely is the kind of person that you really want to have in your corner, because he knows a lot, as in he's he's vested in what he does, and is just a wonderful person. So he's Leke Adesi. He has a background in law, and he has worked in the HR and labor relations space for over 15 years. So we don't bring you just any kind of speakers here. Trust me, we bring you the creme de la creme of the end of the industry, right? And 10 out of which he has been in Canada for. So he does know the Canadian HR space. He currently works as a labor relations specialist with Parkland Refining, British Columbia, as a labor relations specialist. And he loves to coach and mentor young professionals, making career choices, and enjoy photography. That I can attest to. He's a very fantastic photographer. And he also enjoys cycling in his spare time. Today as well, we're going to have joining us yet another speaker to help us discuss this topic. We also have Tomi Kukponi. He studied mass communication from Bowen University in Nigeria. He's a Bowenite, just like myself. So really, really excited to have him here, actually. And he came to Canada 3 years ago for his postgraduate degree in mass communication. But then something exciting happened when he did that. When he arrived here, you know, he then realized that he has like a serious passion for something else, and he changed, you know. So right now, he's currently an automatic technology student at BCIT. He's living his dream, he's following his passion, and that's fantastic. So that's also some form of encouragement to anybody out there who thinks, I'm here to study something else, but I'm seeing this space, I'm seeing opportunities in this industry, and I do have a flair for it. This is somebody who's gone through that. So I expect to see all those questions coming in, you know. So we also have him, and he's going to also answer some questions. Today's session is going to be, we're starting off with Mr. Leke, and then we'll get to discuss with Mr. Tomisu as well. But without speaking too much, everybody knows I like to talk a lot. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Leke to actually coordinate the sessions. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of this and for agreeing to do this selfless service for us. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Shion. I do appreciate that warm introduction. Making career choices is something I'm very, I do like to talk about because it impacts every area of our lives. And as Shion did mention, I've been in the HR space for a bit, and I've been in the HR and labor relations space in Canada since 2011. And I've had a unique opportunity of having interesting conversations with new Canadians, new arrivals who are making that transition from working in the Nigerian space into working in Canada. And it's always a stressful time, wedged in between trying to settle down in Canada, make Canada your home, you know, a new home, making career choices, looking for jobs, going through those frustration that we all did go through when we made that transition. So it's a very topic that is very dear to my heart. And I'm glad today that I have also a brother of mine in the person of Tomi discussing this topic. We've discussed it back and forth before it became something we're bringing to the group. Bring it to the group, and I think would really benefit from it. So how I envision this will go is I'll talk a little bit about my experience, my interaction with skilled trades over the last 10 years in Canada. And in the course of the conversation, if we have any question, please feel free to, you know, to throw it into the message box so that we can catch it at the end of the day. We can go through them. And then at the end of towards the end of that, or before we take the questions, I will be having a chit chat with Tomi, just asking him questions back and forth on his transition, his experience, studying automotive technician in BCIT, and also, you know, what the representation of our demographic is in the skilled trades. So before we go into all of that, I think it's important to start with an understanding, you know, of what skilled trade is. In Canada, skilled trade is a career path that requires, you to be hands-on, working with your hands for the most part. And it also requires specialty knowledge, unlike where we're coming from. If you say the person is a plumber, or is an electrician, or industrial electrician, we'll call millwright here. The way we look at it is very different. But here it's specialized. Skilled trade workers build and maintain infrastructure, our homes, schools, hospital, roads, farms, and parks. I can tell you for sure that if the skilled trades in Canada, in British Columbia, are down tools, or in each of our local areas down tools for a week, we're in for big trouble, because they really, really maintain what our infrastructure is. What we do enjoy living in Canada, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of electricity, in terms of road, in terms of garbage collection, in terms of fixing the basic things, that in terms of maintaining our parks and recreational infrastructure, is actually the guys in the skilled trades that make that happen. So it's very core to the Canadian economy. They keep industries running. I can attest to that, because I work in the oil and gas industry, and I tell you, they might not be the most educated guys on deck, but we can't do anything. We can't function without our skilled trades being on the good side with us. So, and they perform many services we rely on, like I said, on an everyday basis, right? When the flood hits, you can remember like 2 months ago when we had that flood, and the roads were washed off in the way to the Okanagan and deep in British Columbia. The response of the skilled trade folks in fixing the roads, in creating alternative roads, fixing bridges, just bringing life back as it should in a very short period of time, is an attestation to how important the skilled trades is to running our everyday life and our social services. So that's how we describe skilled trades. So the question is, what are the top skilled trades in Canada? Currently, I would say that heavy duty equipment technicians make the highest in Canada. Right off from school, like first year of getting certification, they make an average of 84,000 in a year, just first year of getting certified as a heavy duty equipment technician. I've been opportune to interact with different professions across the board in Canada. Very, very few professions start you with 84,000 the first year of leaving school, after 6 years of education. And you should bear in mind that the average qualifying period to get into any of the skilled trades is between 4 months to 2 years, right? So under 2 years, and sometimes under 1 year, you're already done with your qualification and the education that requires you to, or that qualifies you to work in any of the skilled trades. For example, construction electrician, the first year out of school, they make an average of $72,000. And when we're putting these numbers here out, we're just putting an average number out. It depends on the industry where they work. For example, the industry where I work, in the oil and gas sector, an average first year qualified third class ticket operator or a millwright is making, without overtime, about $114,000 per annum. I ran that number with my payroll person on Friday, and with overtime, they do make upwards of $142,000. And we're talking of a 19-year-old, leaving high school, going into BCIT, taking 12 months to 18 months of education, and right at the age of 20, they're already making $140,000 steady. And it's not all about pay. When we're talking of opportunities, it's not all about pay. There are other benefits of working in the skilled trades. And one of it is those jobs are always in demand. Currently, there's a lot of projects that's going to last maybe 5 to 10 years in BC. And we have a huge shortage of tradesmen who are working in those roles. In northern British Columbia, there's the Site C dam project that's going on. There's a big gas installations by Fortis BC going on in northern British Columbia. and there's still a shortage. They're struggling to find people to work in those projects. One other advantage is the work with cutting-edge technology. I can talk or speak to the guys who work at the refinery where I work. They might not be engineers who went to school for 5 years or 6 years to qualify to be PNG, but they're working with cutting-edge technology. They're working on projects where we're using animal fat to process diesel, grain refining, which is very new to Canada and very new to a lot of refineries across the world. So these are the kind of exposures you get, regardless of the fact that you just have 18 months of education. Top of that, you have grants and scholarship for taking those programs. If you check BCIT or any of the colleges around that offer skilled trades, you see that the government is always incentivizing young people, people of our particular demographics, new immigrants to go into skilled trades because they're needed. They're needed to run our infrastructure in the short run and also in the long run. I was opportune to be in a meeting with the Board of Trades, I think about 2 years ago, and there was a conversation around the fact that all the water treatment plants in BC, they're running out of skilled trades because the guys who have been working there for many years are going into retirement, and nobody is going to take any technical course in water treatment or water treatment infrastructure. These jobs have a starting wage of $38 per hour in this union, and overtime is double bubble. So the average in that entry of those roles is about $90,000 in a year guaranteed. But we still don't find people there, right? And I think the reason why we're having this conversation as Nigerians in this demographic is because, like I said, I have seen people struggle with, I don't want to do what I'm doing in Nigeria. I don't even know what to do when I get to Canada. I'm confused. Should I go into IT? Should I go into tech? Should I go into healthcare? Those are good. Those are also good opportunities to get into. But I think it's important for people to also know that skilled trades is also one of the areas where you can dabble into in terms of career change. And it's very gratifying too, because there's a lot of opportunities and you can hold your head high. It's different from Nigeria. If you tell someone that you're an industrial mechanic, the way they look at you is different. But in this environment, if you're an industrial mechanic, you're in the top 5% of earners. So that's why it's important to have this conversation. And one other thing about skilled trades, for example, if you're a certified millwright, you can work in oil and gas, you can work in pulp and mill, you can work in construction, you can work in mining. So your skill set kind of cuts across a lot of trade points. And most importantly, if you're a certified skilled trade person in British Columbia, Canada, you can work anywhere in the world. You can take up contracts in Dubai, in Qatar, in South America, in the US. It makes you very, very versatile. A lot of us who have spent and invested years and years in our education don't even have that flexibility to work in other jurisdictions. But with skilled trades, it's very important. You can, if there's a need to build something, spectacular in any part of the world, you can put your name down and then you can go work on project for 6 months and make higher income for the year. So that's one of the advantages. And of course, competitive pay and benefits. And most skilled trades jobs work in the unionized environment, so there's a job of security. In terms of my own personal experience, I can talk about job security, amazing pay and benefits, work-life balance. And when I say work-life balance, the guys who work in skilled trades on my side, they work 1,970 hours in a year, 37 hours a week. And once they step out of the refinery, they don't have to think about work, right? Some of them work on a 12-hour shift, 3 in, 3 out. Once they step out of that environment, they don't expect to receive phone calls. They can shut out and go do other things with their lives. And for the guys in skilled trades, because they have those skills, they can also take on, on their days off, they can also take up project or extra income. So at the end of the day, you have those transferable skills you can use for yourself. You have more time on your hand, and then you have amazing pay and amazing benefits. And it helps build the kind of life you're seeking when coming to Canada. And like I said, it's not everyone that will be interested in skilled trades, but for those who might be thinking about other options and other flexible options, it comes really, really highly recommended from my experience and from a lot of experience of folks who have actually gone through that training and who currently work in the skilled trades. So that's like a summary, like a brief summary of my kind of knowledge and my interaction with skilled trades over the years. We can go into the details in terms of how to qualify, which one to go for, which one pays the highest, which one has the biggest flexibility. But before we get to the questions, I would like to bring Tommy into the conversation because he is currently training as an automotive technician, and he can give us first-hand experience and first-hand view of what it actually takes to get into the skill trade. So Tommy, thank you very much for joining me in this conversation.
No
Though it was very almost impromptu, but we really do appreciate it and would really benefit from your experience so far. So my first question is this, right? What was your career path before you decided to make the skilled trades a choice of career?
Well, I studied mass communication hi everyone. So sorry about that. I studied mass communication in Nigeria, which I struggled with, but because I had to go to school. That's why I decided to do mass communication, and I did it for 5 years. It was supposed to take 4 years, but because I was struggling, I was there for 5 years. And at the end of the day, I didn't really enjoy what I did. When I moved to Canada, I decided, I had a pep talk with myself, and I decided, there's something I have to enjoy doing, and I just sat down and thought about everything, and that's when I decided, I'll just go for automotive service technician.
Okay.
Yeah.
That must have been, it's not everybody that's able to come to that realization by themselves. That must have been some. So what piqued your interest generally in skilled trades? One, and then how did you narrow it down to automotive technician?
Well, when I was younger, my dad used to tell me to, learn something handy. And I decided to, of course, a mechanic in Nigeria, the way we look at them is quite different from how they are here. But yeah. I always just went to the shop out there and just watched them fix cars. I actually didn't learn. I just sat down there and just, watched. But when I got here, I decided, there's something I have to enjoy doing. And that's when I figured, okay, I think I actually love working on cars. Because when I was younger, I remember I used to mess around with my mom's car, just, disconnect something, and then she tries to start it doesn't work, and then she'll call me, oh, there's something wrong with my car. And then, I just go there and try to, of course, I know what I did, right? I'll just put everything back together and I'll feel good about myself. That's why I decided, I can actually get into automotive. And yeah,
automotive.
That's what.
So how difficult was the transition for you? And when I say how difficult, in terms of convincing your parents or having that conversation with them that, hey, I don't think I'm particularly going to do mass comm or be on TV or do something related to that. I really want to fix cars for real, and that's what I want to do. How difficult was that transition?
It wasn't difficult because they knew I struggled with mass communication. So once I got here and, I figured out, okay, this is what I wanted to do, I called them and spoke to them and they were fine with it. But it wasn't really hard for me.
So that support helped.
Yes, it did help. It did help. It did really help.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really easy when it comes with the transition, but I just tried to figure out a way to do it. And for some reason, I wouldn't say I got lucky. I worked hard to, get into the trades, and, it worked out.
So how difficult was it to get into the trade itself in terms of the requirements? Do you have to jump a lot of hoops to get a seat in the class?
Yeah, well, okay. So, again, I came here as an international student, and there were so many limitations as to what I could do. For automotive service technician, there are different programs you could take. There's the one that runs for, it runs for 7 weeks. You go to school for 7 weeks, you come back to work and work for about 3 months or so, and then go back to school for another 7 weeks. But I couldn't do that.
So it's kind of blended.
Right.
Oh yeah, because
I'm an international student, I couldn't do that. I wasn't allowed. So I had to, dig into, looking for a school that actually runs the program for 2 years. And that's when I found BCIT. And I actually found VCC too, but VCC gave me a tough time. So I decided, I'll just go to BCIT and, get it done there. And I got lucky, but I worked for it.
Right. So one of the things I omitted in saying earlier is that one of the advantages of skilled trades is, for example, if you're a landed immigrant or you're a Canadian citizen, while you're in school, you have the opportunity to go back for a while and work. And whatever work you're doing, unlike the tradesman program we have in Nigeria for skilled trades, or what we call skilled trades, is paid. You actually get paid for the work you're doing, regardless of the fact that you're a student. So it's one of the benefits of getting into skilled trades.
Right.
So you're not in debt because you're in school. So in now finding yourself in BCIT, I know BCIT is one of the top tier kind of polytechnic educational institutions in Canada. But the question is our demographic well reflected in BCIT? As you've seen, whether in the program you're taking or in the other skilled trades, do you see people like yourself taking skilled trade programs?
Not really. Well, again, most of the guys in my class are from China. Most of them are Chinese, so I'm kind of the only African in my class. And even with other skilled trades that I've seen around, because we all share like a department, like we all get to see each other every once in a while. I have not met Nigerians. I've met Kenyans and Tanzanians, but Nigerians, no. And that it's one of the things that came to mind, like, okay, well, I think it would be great if we had Nigerians come in here and do this program, because I enjoy it, and I'm sure Nigerians are hardworking, and I'm sure they will enjoy it as well. And yeah, that's.
So one of the reasons why I did ask that is most of the kind of mechanic franchises you see out there, like those dealing with brakes, those dealing with different part of car fixing and everything. Before you can have that franchise, you have to have certified folks working in that space. And it's no accident that you see a lot of Chinese students in your class, because the end goal is actually take over those franchises. They're buying them in bulk. So on the business side of it, in the back end, that's what is happening. And that's why you see that demographic class. There's hardly anyone you go to in town now that you don't see that demographic, right? And if you look at how much those mechanic, what do you call those budget breaks and things like that, how much they make in a year, you will be shocked at how much return and how much actually goes into investing in those. So that's on a much larger scope. That's also the opportunity that exists. I have traveled extensively within BC. I don't think I know up to 2 mechanic shops that belongs to a franchise group that's actually owned by an African or a Nigerian, despite the fact that where we're coming from, we do that a lot, right? That's also the other opportunity that exists within skilled trades, buying in one of those franchises and running it for profitability.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to actually have you talk about the current demographic, because I've had conversations about that particular business idea before. So what do you think are the barriers? Why do you think you don't see a lot of people like yourself, people like you and I, in skilled trades?
I think it's just lack of information. Not very many people know what's going on. I did not know myself until I got here. And, again, it's something I had to I had to get my information from people, and I kind of made it work for myself. And if people knew about this, I'm sure they would definitely try to get into it, but not very many people know.
No, the opportunities exist.
Right.
In terms of a return on investment, and when I say return on investment, how much you've invested in the education, right? And what you'll be making when you actually start working. Because I know you already have your own business, you're doing things by yourself, right? But do you, in your opinion, would you say it's absolutely worth it? Do you think you can actually make a good living at
Yes. Oh, yes. There's very many cars in Vancouver to fix, not just Vancouver, BC. Again, I'll tell you a story of mine. When I first got to Canada, I bought a car. It was a beater, and I used to take it to, anytime I had to fix something, I take it to the mechanic, and they charged me a lot. And it's one of the things that got me upset. Okay, I can't be paying this much to fix a car when I can actually fix it. Why not just get into it? And honestly, it's worth it. I'm spending a lot in school, but I know at the end of the day, it's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
I have personal experience of that. I've had a part, I had a check engine light, and I went and checked myself because I also tried to fix things myself. The part cost me $50. Labor was going to be $550. And I just went into Canadian Tire, bought all the tools and fixed it myself. And it cost me less than $120 to do, right? It's not everybody that can do that. Vast majority of people don't even want to open their what we call bonnet. They don't want to open their hood, because they don't want to mess up something. If you're driving a BM, or you're driving a Mercedes, or you drive complicated car, you don't even want to touch it. And you get into the dealership, whatever they write on their invoice, you can't, you
have to pay.
You can't fault it. You have to pay. So
yeah.
It's and we're just talking of automotive technicians. Where there's other skill trades too. You have situations where you bring a plumber into your home to check something, and they're there for maybe 30 minutes, and your bill comes to $120. They have not fixed anything. They just came into your house to just check what's going on, right? They've not billed you for their workmanship and all that. So you can imagine, how that is. So what would be your advice to anyone considering the skill trades?
I think you should just go for it. Just do it, because just like you said earlier, when it comes to skill trades, Canada needs people like those, right? People that are into skill trade. And it's one of the things that made me decide to get into it, because it makes it easier for me to get my paperwork done, and my stay in Canada and all those things done easily. Yeah. So I'll say just do it.
There's a focus on skilled trades, immigration. It has its own category, separate category.
Yeah. It's one of the things I considered, and again, I'm sure. I don't want to be too sure, but I'm sure it's really going to be helpful at the end of the day.
Yeah, just to put things in perspective, Canada is expecting, I think in the next 3 or 4 years, they're expecting 2 million immigrants. And for me, my business mind is looking at, number one, where will those 2 million people live? We're already underhoused, especially in the big cities where most of the opportunities are. In Vancouver, in Toronto, even in Calgary, they're beginning to feel the push. So the more pressure we have on social infrastructure, on the road, on electricity, on telecommunication, on virtually everything, you need people to run it at every stage. And it would interest you that some of the highest paid people in the municipalities are the guys who work in skill trades, the guys who fix the roads, who ensures the sewage system is well taken care of. Sewage treatment is big, and waste in Canada is huge in terms of the potential for new entry and for parents, or guardians who have kids who don't really enjoy what we call the long winding education, going to university for 5 years or 6 years. I honestly, several times I've sat in, bargaining with the union, and the lawyers looking at me and looking at my boss, and we're having this conversation like, why are we even doing this job when these guys with just 1 year of education are making what lawyers with 10 years experience don't make? And the difference for me, you know, having that background in law, I know if I'm working full-time as a counsel, in-house counsel, yeah, I'm making good money, but I'm working 80 hours a week. These guys work 37 hours a week and they're making the same money. So you talk of return on investment, and then you have a whole lot of time to also do other things with your life. So like I said before, it's not for everybody, but if you're ever considering an option, if you feel you're doing a job now you don't like, I've met a lot of people who are absolutely not happy with their jobs. The reason why they're doing it is because they have to pay the bills. They have mortgage to pay, they have this to pay, they have to pay for their cars, but they don't enjoy it. I think it's time for us as Nigerians, and I think Africans, to start looking at these opportunities, because like I said, 10 years of experience in Canada, I've worked in different sectors. The guys who make the most of the money, they don't even need more, they don't need as high level of education to do what they do. They don't have to be at work all the time. They don't have to go home with their work phones thinking about work, and they are still the highest earning in that environment. Are they at risk? Of course, you know, in my environment, safety is key. You work in an environment, every single thing in my environment is like a bomb. It can go up anytime, right? But hey, the refinery has been there since I think 1940. They've never had a major incident. I know people who have worked in normal offices who have had serious incidents since they started working there. So there are risks. You're working outside, you're climbing heights, just depending on what skill trades you are involved in, right? But again, this is Canada. Safety measures are kind of high. There's a huge regulatory regime for every single skill trades. You have you yourself as a student or as someone working the skill trades, you have the education, you have to be certified, retrained, and all that. And then, of course, you have the benefit of also insurance. So there's a lot to be said about that. Like I said from the beginning, I do love to talk about this topic. I always use every opportunity to tell people who are confused about what choices to make. I'm like, have you ever thought about the skill trades? Because in my environment, they make good money and they also work less hours, right? So that, among other benefits or other, and then, like I said earlier, you can even get to the point where you are an instructor. There are a couple of guys on my side who go to BCIT to teach students on, whether they're instrument technicians or they're electricians or we call them pipe fitters in my environment. They're basically plumbers, but of an industrial kind of scope. So there's a lot. Even if you don't want to work you want to get hands-on, you can actually train to teach other folks in the skilled trades. And there's always government grants, there's always government support, there's always incentive for skilled trades. And if you're running your own business as a skilled tradesperson, maybe you're an electrician or you're a plumber, when things like COVID happened, a lot of them benefited from government grants and support in the downtime. So just like anyone working in any of those professional blue collar, white collar jobs, you also get that support. We are available to take any questions from our participants. If you have contribution or any questions you want to throw across to Tomi or myself, please, this is the time to hit the floor. Once again, Seun, thank you very much for giving us this platform. And I do appreciate everyone who have come out today to be part of this conversation. We really appreciate it. We're excited to talk about this stuff because as you know, I'm always excited to talk about things that make us, make our lives as Nigerians better in British Columbia. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for us around here.
Yeah, we do have, thank you so much, guys. As in, it's been very, very insightful. It's been a wonderful session so far. I most definitely have learned a lot, and I hope everybody has learned a lot. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment section. We do have one question. I'm just going to read that, and then so it says, this is from Ebony CC, and she's asking that there are people who are already in Canada with a formal, or who went through a formal career. can they decide to go back to BCIT to study some of these skilled trade jobs?
You know, the interesting thing, I'll just say this, and I do, Tomi might have something to say too. The interesting thing about Canada that I know over the last 10 years is there's no limit of time you can go back to school to take anything. When I came to Canada, my first postgrad class, I had guys who are just, you know, finishing university to guys who have worked for like 30 years coming in to retrain for something else. And one of them has gone back to the same school to retrain for something else in the space of 10 years. So there's no limit as far as, you know, you don't have any physical limitation. You can always go back and retrain depending on what you're interested in. And I know Tomi can speak to that too in terms of the demographic of his class.
Yeah. You can always go back to school. I know even there are times when people don't really know, like they're not experienced in what they are trying to go into. But once you go there to school, they run some kind of test, like a foundation test kind of thing, to see how experienced you are. If you're not great, they put you in a certain class where they, you know, build you up gradually until you get better. Yes, until you get better. So yeah, you can always go back to school whenever you want to.
Okay, thank you so much. We do have like a follow-up question to something you just mentioned now. So the question goes, are there any key requirements, like maybe secondary school science courses that are required for entry level for you to be able to gain admission into any of the skilled trade courses? I just also wanted to mention, if you do have a questions, I see some hands raised, but it would be nice if you could put them in the chat section. Thank you. Yeah, that was a follow-up question to
Okay.
the person is asking. The person wants to know if there are any science requirements, like from secondary school.
Yeah, I think the requirement is usually math, English, and no science courses, because I wasn't in the science class when I was in high school, so they don't require science courses. So basically math and English, that's all you need.
And one thing I also know is that in some cases, like you said earlier, if they feel that you need a stopgap, they always have these stopgap programs where helps you transition between where you're coming from or what you want to take. So if they feel you have those deficiencies, they always have those programs. And most of the colleges do have that.
Thank you so much. We do have a few more questions, and when we're through the questions, we do have somebody who has a comment, so we'll take that after all the questions. So there's another one that says, is it possible for people to get a work permit if they go to BCIT to learn a skill trade? That's a very good question. Just so you know, we also have, like, this is a community for immigrants as well, and we also do have people that are looking to come into Canada. And some people are coming in through school, and the focus is actually to get to admission into a school that will be able to grant them work permit. So that's one question is they would like to know if they'll be able to get work permit if you go to BCIT.
So most programs that I know, and at some point in my transition in Canada, I was heavily involved in kind of transitioning students here to Camosun in Victoria and some other schools. All the programs, you always see there whether this is open to international student or not. Any program that is open to international student would have the opportunity to transition to a work permit, right? If it's not open to international student, you might run into troubled waters with that. But if it's open to international student, then it will have work permit option. The challenge with some of these skilled trades is because they are 9 months program. And if immigration is the goal, you want to get into a program that's at least 15 months so that you can get a 3-year work permit. So what some people do is to, schools know that, and then they design a program for you that lasts 15 months, and then you make that transition. Whether BCIT does that, I'm not sure, but a lot of these colleges do sometimes do that so that you can have your 15 months and then you can have your 3 years post-study work permit. And with a 3-year post-study work permit and working in skilled trades is almost like 100% because you're going to get a job, you're going to earn well, and you are in one of those categories that Canada is really, really craving for.
Yeah, thank you so much. That would be something to at least to take note of. So we have another question that says, as an international student, did you finish your first program before you started this new skill trade program, or did you just switch entirely? Person just wants to know that, and that's for Tommy.
I switched entirely. I didn't finish it. I found out, I didn't need that program anyway, so I decided to switch, and yeah, it worked out.
Yeah. And we have another one that goes, is it easy to get admitted to BSIT? I know we sort of like touched on that at the beginning, but this person is saying from Nigeria, and if there is any age, if age might be a barrier, because the person asking the question is already 47.
So I'll take on that. I have seen cases where people are in their early 50s and they've come here for school, right? That's more of an immigration question than a school program. The school will always give you, the age is not a determinant factor in admitting you into any program, right? But you have to cross that hurdle of immigration, because if you're coming into a program that's predominantly 19, 20-year-olds that get into that program, it might raise some questions with immigration. But sometimes with immigration, you cannot really tell what they're considering. So it will have to be individual cases dependent. But is it worth trying? If you're really interested in the skill trades and you find something you like in BCIT, I'll say go for it, because at the end of the day, the only time you actually completely lose out is if you don't try. So it's not a no kind of question. It's more of ensure that when you're doing this, you put everything in place to make sure that you have a good application, and then you support it with a good cover letter, especially if you've done something in that area before. It even makes it easier for you to get your study permit. In that situation, it's more of immigration than getting into the program.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have another question. A person wants to know, they have a British certification, that's the City and Guilds, as an advanced technician in construction and technology, and they would like to know, sorry, I just lost that question. One moment.
Yeah, I can read it here. I'm reading it. So yeah. What I'll say is that there's always a certification body for every skill trades in Canada. The proper place to address that question to is that certification body. They are the ones who will determine whether there's an equivalent or they have to do like an upgrade. Because in terms of codes for skill trades, codes are very important to them, right? If they don't think you have equivalent codes in terms of building codes and everything, you might still have to learn a bit about, because if you have to work in this environment, they want you to understand all the key factors and all the technical details within this environment. So it won't be kind of discrimination from a technical point of view. Someone who's building houses for you want to be sure that they understand what they are doing within that context. So that question is better addressed to that regulatory body. Just like every profession, they have some certain level of transfer that is allowed. So it might not be doing the whole thing. It might just be doing an aspect of it to make you transition from what you have in Britain to what obtains here in Canada.
Okay, we did have somebody who had a comment. If you're still here with us, now is the time. Would like to hear your comment, please.
Well, Charles here. I was going to speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I was going to speak about some of the requirements that was talked about. So if you have qualified experience coming from outside, from Nigeria, for example, sometimes you can also go through the challenge parts. That means you can challenge your experience for your hours and get your certification for your trade, your red seal. For example, if you have experience as working as a technician in Nigeria, you can up to 9,000, I think 9,650 hours. You can challenge the red seal exam and get your final red seal certification straight up. So you have the challenge pathway as well. You don't need to go through some of this certification, but that is if you have up to the hours. Otherwise, if you have less than that, you can also work in Canada for a while, maybe for a year, till you have up to the required hours and then challenge it. So that's another avenue to get into the skills.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, As, for that contribution. Yes, I think I've had people talk about that challenging the hours before, and it even makes it easier instead of spending all that money and going through all that process. So I believe that a couple of Nigerians that I've met who are working in the skilled trades, a couple of them do have their own businesses, and from the interactions with them, they're not doing any bad, right? The opportunities are there if the willingness is there to go through what it takes to be there. And if you're interested, like Tommy really enjoys doing it. I know, personal relationship with him. I know he really enjoys doing what he does and is happier doing it. And it's a lot of stress. Like from my experience working with people, it's very stressful to manage people who are doing things they don't like. I've working in HR. I've been in organizations where people have worked 40 years doing what they absolutely hate. Sometimes I don't understand it. It makes it for a very toxic sometimes for work environment. Talking from the people management point of view. So if you find what you love and you're doing it, it's easier to manage people who are doing what they love. That's another angle to it that I kind of realized in my experience. So it's good to see people do what they love and enjoy doing it, right?
Thank you so much. We are coming to the end of the session. We have 7 minutes more. If you still have any questions, please put them in the comment section and we'll try to take those questions before the end of the session. But before we wrap up, we just want to say thank you so much. I know I personally have learned so much already. If you have questions after the event, please do feel free. We will share the contacts of the speakers if you'd like to reach out to them personally, just to get more information. We'll just reach out to us, and on the Nigerian Residents in BC group, we'll put down the information of our speakers for today. Well, if you have more questions, please feel free to share. Yes, we'll most definitely will share the contact. If you're not on the Nigerian Residents in BC group, and this session is recorded, so it's going to be online if you want to share it with friends or family who were unfortunately unable to join us today and they missed the session. You can reach out to myself or Wale or anybody to join the Nigerian Residents in BC. That's where we'll share most of the information from today's session too as well. And I guess we can call it a wrap today. Any other questions? We still have a few more minutes to take some questions. Any other comments from anybody? Would our speakers like to give like the final words for today?
So thank you very much, Sean. Thank you very much for having me come talk about this topic. I really do enjoy it, and I did enjoy the chat with Tommy about it today. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for making time, out of your Sunday time to come hang out with us.
Okay, Tommy, do you have any final messages that you want to pass across to anybody that is listening right now? Some form of encouragement for international students who are looking to also switch just like you did, just some form of encouragement.
Yeah, just like Leke said, if you have passion in, to go into trade, I think it's totally worth it. Just like I said earlier, I look forward to graduating and actually making the money back as soon as possible, which is, at the end of the day, is going to be a lot easier because I'm already certified, right? So yeah, thanks everyone for listening to me, and thanks for inviting me.
Thank you once again, everybody. So to all parents out there who have kids that are looking to start go to college, or if you feel that you have kids who have some flair for the trades, it's high time for us to not think about it as just how we usually view these things as Nigerians. These are the skilled trade jobs here. Lucrative, just like we mentioned about, the figures are mind-blowing, and the time that's you get to spend doing this, the hours. So those statistics that was shared by Mr. Leke at the beginning, they're actually just mind-blowing, things that should actually encourage us to try to encourage our kids. In the chat section as well, we also saw a few comments about how much people spend on getting a plumber to work on, taking out juice box I saw, and under two minutes it was done. I also paid $250 to get a plumber to just switch off a leak. It wasn't even serious. The guy actually felt bad. But then it still had to charge and we still had to pay for it. It was like, oh, this is it. It wasn't just properly closed. And he just did boop, and it was done, and we paid $250. But beyond that, it would be nice for us to also, because this is a community for immigrants too as well, and for us to have our people too, that we can actually run in businesses that we could patronize, that we could call upon. Whenever you have any job that needs to be done in the home, most of the organizations you contact are run by. So it would be nice if we can have more Africans, more Nigerians getting involved in these skill trades. And let's keep money amongst ourselves. Let's earn this money and keep it in our circle, but at least just to patronize ourselves. So if you're looking to transition, it's never too late to do that. And like I said, if you have more questions about this, I hope this has actually piqued somebody's interest as well. If it's not something that you've thought about before, hey, if you feel that you have a flair for fixing things, now is the time to think in depth and see what you could actually do if you would like to actually do something like this. These are other career opportunities that can be explored. The opportunity is out there and let's not waste it. Thank you so much.
Seun, pardon me, let me just say one more thing.
Yeah.
One more quick thing. When it comes to skill trades, it's not gender specific. And I would say, even for women, it's the best time to get into skill trades. For example, in my location, anytime we see any female applicant for an operator position, they immediately move to the top of the pack for female folks, for Nigerian in a Nigerian community. Let's also bear that in mind. There's even more opportunity for female candidates in the skill trades.
Yeah, and that's fantastic to know. So myself personally, I'll probably be thinking very hard about becoming a plumber or something. Would definitely reach out to you. But jokes apart, for anybody that is thinking of doing switching to any of the skill trades, as in, don't look at it with that stereotype that we Nigerians actually always look at, oh, you're coming here to be a plumber, or you're an electrician, or you're a carpenter, or you're a welder, Yeah, so before we close, on a lighter note, I'll just share. I always share this story with friends, that I've met about this. I remember when I was coming to Canada, my father actually suggested it to my husband and said, oh, when you get there, why don't you just look for something, maybe become like a plumber? And I looked at him, I'm like, you want my husband to come here to be a welder? I'm not understanding this man. But the guy had foresight, so now I'm hearing all those figures. I'm like, honey, are you sure you're not going to reconsider? Just jokes about, just something for us to think about, that we really have to not think about it the way we normally used to think about these things as Nigerians. But those opportunities are there, and short period of time for you to actually get get the knowledge and the skills required. Thank you so much, Beke, and thank you so much, Tomi. Thank you to everybody that has joined us today. We will be having yet another session. Thank you to everybody, and have a great day. Bye.